Capone's the latest film from Josh Trank, and it stars Tom Hardy as the infamous American gangster. It's such a bizarre movie, you really have to manage your expectations with it. If you're anticipating a criminal underworld film with a bit of action, you're in for quite a shock, because it's actually a horror film. It's not about Capone's criminal legacy, it's focused pretty heavily upon him suffering with dementia and dealing with his violent past. It makes sense when looking at it through the lens of Josh Trank's career, so I'm going to cover all that and more in this video because I suspect it's going to have a tough time with audiences expecting one thing and getting another. As a quick Josh Trank recap, in 2012 he came out with Chronicle, which was a sci-fi thriller about angsty teens with superpowers and the real-world implications of that. The film was well received, and subsequently he was given the opportunity to direct a Fantastic Four reboot, which was universally panned even by Josh Trank. He had few redeeming features, but in its DNA there was one interesting idea which indicated the kind of film he was trying to make. After a bit of analysis, which loads of people have done videos on, it became pretty clear that he's instinctively a horror filmmaker. Although as a product it is a Frankenstein together mess which wasn't remotely exciting or fun in the way perhaps a superhero film should be. He quite famously jumped on Twitter and declared it wasn't like the version he made a year before it released, which was apparently significantly better. But he made the fatal error of slagging off his film while it was being promoted, which signalled to a lot of important people in Hollywood that he's capable of being a bit of a liability. But 5 years later he's back with indie producer Vertical Entertainment, and it's come time to ask the question, is Josh Trank a good filmmaker? Or is he just a one-hit wonder with Chronicle? And the truth is I still can't answer that question. I'm hoping he's a bit of an M. Night Shyamalan and he keeps making movies the way he wants to, even if nobody else likes him. Because I actually had fun with Capone, even though it's plagued with issues. You have to understand how bizarre the movie is. It's like the first draft of a David Lynch film that has no plot development whatsoever. It's fascinating. He said in an interview with the New York Times after making Fantastic Four, he stayed at home chain-smoking cigarettes for 2 months and thinking about the final year of Al Capone's life. He's essentially found a tenuous link between himself and Al Capone, and he's made a film about it, which is peculiar but creative. I value the way he's turned that negative experience of being criticised for Fantastic Four into a piece of art with Capone. It's more like a portrait than a film. It's an image of a past his prime gangster whose glory days are far behind him. It's going to get a ton of flack for being about a man with dementia who can't control his bowels or his bladder, because sometimes it can come across like a comedy, which is the film's biggest misstep. I don't think it's intending to be comedic in a way that a lot of people are inferring it is, but it's hard to know what the intention of the filmmaker is because you feel like you're on something while you're watching it. It's so zany and peculiar. It doesn't help that it's so haphazardly assembled. It feels like the film begins twice and then the character starts hallucinating. I think what Josh Trank's trying to do is simulate the feeling of having dementia by blending trippy hallucination sequences with real events to make you question everything you're seeing. But it doesn't really go anywhere. Trank will probably claim it was his stylistic intention to hone the film this way. It's like a nightmarish dream you have during a fever. It feels like Mulholland Drive or Fight Club sometimes consequently, but it doesn't have an interesting story like those films. There's a particular point at which it switches gear entirely, and it's like you're on a haunted house ride with traumatic moments from his past popping up at you, which can be involving at first and keep you emotionally invested, but you're always questioning what it's leading to. I think it's an interesting idea for a short film, the final days and moments of Al Capone, but it's an hour and 40 of a single idea that needed a bit more development. Tom Hardy's clearly taken the role because he likes playing infamous gangsters, but he didn't sink into the role for me in the way a slightly older actor might have. But there are moments like when he's chewing a carrot after a doctor stops him from smoking a cigar that keep you hooked, because it's a combination of tragic and bonkers, but I don't think that makes it a good film, even though it being so strange kept me involved throughout. At the bare minimum, I rate Josh Trank for not making a by-the-numbers Capone adaptation, especially after the backlash he got from Fantastic Four. You'd assume he'd make a safe movie in an attempt to regain his credentials as a legitimate filmmaker, but I'm impressed that he's made a film that nobody was expecting. I really want to like it because I want Josh Trank to have a comeback. I don't think Chronicle is the height of his potential, and he's definitely got an offbeat, messed up horror film in him that isn't about an unpleasant old gangster that's past his sell-by date. But saying that, I really enjoyed being completely perplexed by it. Some people think it's an incoherent, poorly assembled disaster, and other people think it's a really artful depiction of Al Capone's health declining, and It's both of those things, which makes it a tough movie in a world where people quite rigidly rate films as terrible or amazing. It's a mixed bag, but if you're intrigued by the concept of a horror gangster film, give it a go, because you might actually get something out of it that you never dreamed was possible. Anyway, that's all from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I know my setup at the moment's a little bit more unconventional, but I'm waiting for some stuff to get some more content out. But yeah, that's all from me today. I hope you're all well out there. Stay safe, and thanks so much. Bye.